make sure you don't have gaps in your CVs. Okay, I'm being very specific now. So working for a bad company, for a bad job is better than not working at all. There are 50,000 people. Not everyone will pass, but of those 50,000, 40,000 may graduate, 45,000 may graduate, and that's 1 year. So we're looking at a bleak future ahead of us in terms of, if you're complaining about, jobs are so hard to get now, by your time when you finish all your education, it's even becoming worse. It'll become even worse. So McKinsey, which is one of the biggest consulting firms in the world, took him on the first day of recruitment, and the starting salary is 30, 40 lakhs, right? I mean, that's how they pay. He got it just because he knows Mandarin, not because he's class 10 a topper in the classes as well. I think it really helps knowing languages, and do everything you can be to happy, and everything else will fall in place. Very, very happy to be here today. So our MC did mention that I need no introduction, but I'm very sure no one knows me here. So I'll talk a bit about myself also. You must be wondering, in a typical program, any program, when you have a guest speaker, everyone knows him, or at least half of the people know. I can tell with assurance that I think probably no one knows him here, or maybe 1, 2 people, by luck or by chance. But I'll get into that about myself a bit more. Not that it's important, but maybe to give you a background. But yes, to start with, very happy that I'm here today. Very thankful to the organizing committee for thinking about inviting me. And I guess, like I mentioned, usually a guest speaker is someone very well known, everyone knows, but I think that's how management schools do. You do something different, you do something unique. And thinking about it, I also kind of agreed that it's nice, it's a change, that you don't have a typical guest speaker. And I did agree to come. All of you, like me included, we know our brothers or cousins or someone in a friend circle is highly educated and doesn't have a job. I think that's the very most common thing. We don't have to talk about 20% unemployment, 50% doesn't have to. We know in our own midst that there are a lot of people looking for jobs and not getting jobs. We know the situation where 5 posts comes, 1,000 people apply, all that. So, but I just want to give you a context, and why I'm talking about this is I'm working for the education department right now. Just to give you a number, last year, the number of people who passed out class 10 was around 18,700 passed, so including the repeaters. And then, so that is NBSE data. We have CBSE schools also in Nagaland now, so I'm sure you add another couple of thousand. So roughly 20,000 people pass class 10 every year, and it's only increasing. When I was there, I think my time 10,000, 12,000 people passed, so it's increasing. But if you look at the data, primary school data, so class 1, 2, in a batch, we have around 50,000 students now. So you can imagine that 20,000 now will become 50,000 or 40,000, 45,000 soon, in 5 years' time, 6 years' time. So given the situation that even now we're talking about 3, 4, 5 lakhs people without jobs, every year 20,000 or more is getting added. 20,000 every year, in 5 years' time, that's 1 lakh added to the workforce. So not to scare you, but if you think the situation is bad right now, it's only going to become much more difficult when it comes to job, right? It's so obvious, the number says that, right? In class 1, there are 50,000 people. Not everyone will pass, but of those 50,000, 40,000 may graduate, 45,000 may graduate, and that's 1 year. So we're looking at a bleak future ahead of us in terms of, if you're complaining about, jobs are so hard to get now, by your time when you finish all your education, it's even becoming worse. It'll become even worse. So I think not to scare you, but then you have to prepare yourself now, not thinking about now itself, thinking about the future, how it's going to be more difficult, right? And it's not just Nagaland. You go outside also, although there are more opportunities outside. India has similar demographic structure like Nagaland. There are more young people. So although India has more opportunities, it's a growing economy, the demand and the supply is lesser. Supply of job is lesser. So not to scare you, like I said, but when you prepare now, be aware that what you going ahead, it's only going to become tougher, right? So just like coming back to the learnings, won't take so much time, but to be very specific, and I can't really cover many things, but some of the things I really want to stress upon is, now how do you prepare yourself for the future? How do you put yourself in a good situation for the future? And I think today's the theme of your ZoomX is really apt. It says manifesting forte. What is forte? Forte is your strength. Manifesting is I think making your dreams into reality, realizing your vision and making it a reality, right? So what I also want to stress upon, which you organizers have really identified, is know your strength. I know it's cliche, everyone says that, but I think it's very critical that you know your strength. And here, I want to touch upon two things. There are two different things. One is, because the competition is tough now, and competition is going to be much tougher going ahead, it's really important that you make yourself capable in something which you're good at, because the competition is so tough that unless you have something better than others. And how do you get that? Number one, like we just heard a very lovely voice. She has an inborn talent. So it's important that you recognize because if you have an inborn talent, without you having to do much effort, you're better than most people. So it's important that I think you identify what is your inherent, the talent you're born with or the skill you're born with. And it doesn't have to be technical, it doesn't have to be singing, it can be just emotional. So I'm good with managing people, I'm good at talking to people. So it's important that all of us are, God created us equal, but not equal in terms of having the same thing, equal in terms of distributing skills. That's what we believe, right? So I'm sure everyone has something which you're better than, I'm saying not everyone, but most people. So it's important that you identify what is your forte, what is your strength, and hone that up and make that better. Now you can be the best swimmer, but if you don't practice, you'll never be the best swimmer. You'll never win competition. So it's important that I think you identify your forte, and then, because only then you'll be able to be the best. If you don't have inherent skill and you try to develop that, you'll always be behind people who are, they have that inherent talent. So that's one. So identify your forte and try to make it even better. Like, as an example, Michael Phelps, is the best Olympian. He won, 16 goals or something. So he's the best swimmer, fastest swimmer. But why is he the fastest swimmer? I mean, he practices a lot, but then accordingly, his body structure has the best structure for a swimmer. So that's what it is. He practices a lot, but that he's blessed with that. So for you to identify what you're blessed with, and then work upon it, is something where you can do better than most people. So that's the first point. Second is, what is your inborn talent? Second is the interest you have. You may not born with a strength, but if you have a real good interest in it, that itself will make you do good in it. If I have a good interest in, say, cycling, and I don't know cycling, but I really like it, then I can excel in cycling. So just identify your inherent strength. My point being, how to make yourself capable, inherent strength, and your interest. So those are the two things. If you go beyond these two, you don't have inherent strength, you don't have an interest, then whatever you're studying, you'll never be as good as many other people. So I think that's one of the starting points which I feel everyone can. So it's not specific. Everyone has different skills. And that's one of the points I want to share. Just some few individual learnings. Like when you're young now, and I'm really happy, and like I'm approaching 40. I hope I'm not too old. But then if I look at it, I know my best years are finishing now, diminishing. And you, on the other hand, your best years are ahead of you. I know you've heard this a lot, but it is true. Your best years are ahead of you. So you still have a lot of time to, if you think you've not done anything, you're never too late. You're still many years ahead of you, right? So just try and learn. And for me, what I learned by force or just by compulsion, I didn't do anything, but my most learnings, if I think about, is when I'm out of my comfort zone. You know, like I don't like talking to people. I'm not a very social guy, but just because I've been forced into so many social things, met a lot of people, I think I am what I am today. So do not stick to your, especially when you're young, do not stick to your comfort zone all the time. Like something which you don't like to do, say yes to it. You'll learn more like that, right? And so just keep in mind, especially when you're young, try out, just keep trying out, and your comfort zone, do not stay there. Not just force yourself. If you really don't like it, you come out of it. But then, unless you step out of your comfort zone, you won't learn. And when you're young, you should just think about learning. Well, so that's one thing. Few things. I don't want to go on and on. So we're in a management school, and other colleges also. I know you'll be passing out now. Few things very specific. I know we don't have government jobs going ahead now, so most of us will be entering a space where the only jobs available will be private jobs. What is important, what I feel is, you may learn this more, but when you start working, make sure you don't have gaps in your CVs. Okay, I'm being very specific now. So working for a bad company, for a bad job is better than not working at all. So when you go for a job interview, do not have gaps in your CV. So from here, I started working. You don't want to have breaks, 2-3 years back, you've done nothing. So that looks really bad when you go for a job, for example. I mean, very specific, but so my point being, when you graduate from now, and if you plan to study more, perfect. But if you're not, then take up any job, like make your profile, keep building your profile. You learn along the way. At the same time, if you go for a job, that also puts you up in a very good state. So just take up, forget the salary, it's 5,000 a month, 1,000 a month is better than not working at all. So just keep in mind that do not have gaps in your CV. That's one thing. Try to learn some extra skill along the way. You're young. Just an example, I remember at class 10 when I passed out, and at our time, maybe even now, in February you give the exam. By May is when you have 2-3 gaps, 2-3-4 months holiday. I remember when, during those time, I went for a typing class. No, most of my friends were going for computer classes. I went for a typing class, and the reason why I went for my typing class was I saw someone blind typing. I was really impressed, and I really want to do that. So, and many of my friends, like even my family, were like, oh, what will you do typing now? You're not becoming a steno or a typist later. What's the point? And the typing is on a typical typewriter. But I learned it for one month and a half. And by, I think 1 month and a half, because I was really interested in it, I could type like 50 words without looking like that. So, standing here, what I can tell is, although that looks stupid, after class 10 I did, but last 16, 17 years of my work, that small 1 month and a half investment has helped me a lot, like a lot along the way. Even now, today, I know people still dread writing, like on the type, because it's like putting your thoughts on the mind, at the same time struggling to find keys, like that, right? So I think that small investment, which is also not so much, right? You pay 1,000 rupees or 500 rupees, not even 1,000, I guess, in that time. Small investment for 1 month and a half has helped me every day of the last 20 years, right? So small things, I think it really helps. And maybe, so I never became a typist, but then that typing skill actually helped me a lot, saved me a lot of time, make me more productive, right? And I'm sure there's so many skills like that apart from this, which, so we can identify that, right? Maybe, so if I knew, I would have done some more. Another thing which I noticed from my friends, when you're like language skill, so I keep telling, learn language to my young cousins and siblings. If you have a language skill, no, any language for the matter, Spanish, English, Hindi, Sanskrit, whatever, if you can learn language, and some people have the knack for it, you get a lot of opportunities. You can go abroad, you get everywhere, no? Even at the lower end, you become guides. In Bhutan, where I was working, we have a tourism company. French speaking, the normal guides get around 6,000 rupees per day. It's really well paid. French speaking guides gets around 18,000 per day. Per day, okay? So like that. So there's a big difference just knowing one language. And the Chinese ones are even like paid more, because Chinese is very hard to learn. So the local people who know Chinese, they command like $300 per day, which is around more than 20,000. like that. So per day. So I feel those are not those are skills you can learn on your own. And nowadays you don't have to go to the official course also. I mean, you know all those. There's so many apps where you can learn languages. So I think those are the skills you can develop to make yourself more capable for the future, and not go for the most typical. Oh, I'll do my masters and then I'll do some PhD, which is great. I mean, but then if everyone does it, then which everyone is doing, then you have to be different like that, right? So if you can identify skills which you like. So stuff like even typing is just one small example. Now you don't have to go, but that's what I did, I remember, and it really helped me. But then language is something which will never go, I feel. You can become an ambassador. Like in my MBA, during the job placement time, my friend who was one of the lowest rankers in terms of his performance, he knows Mandarin. Mandarin is Chinese. So Chinese has Mandarin in Cantonese, he knows Mandarin. McKinsey, which is one of the biggest consulting firms in the world, took him on the first day of recruitment, and the starting salary is 30-40 lakhs, right? I mean, that's how they pay. He got it just because he knows Mandarin, not because he's class 10 a topper in the classes. So I think it really helps knowing languages. And I'm not dwelling the language at all. It really helps having a different, unique skill other than the typical skill. So I think identify those and hone yourself now, because again I stress upon it, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, I think we'll be facing a much more challenging situation than now. So a few things there. Very specific in my work, it'll happen to you also. You know Excel, Microsoft Excel? The most very common, not table sheet. It looks like a very rudimentary thing, but then if you're in finance, for sure, but if you're in sales, if you're in marketing, if you're in HR, Excel is always there. Now we have so many apps, so many systems, CRMs, like models. But then even then, anywhere you go, India, America, you still use Excel. So if you can develop a skill in Excel, it really help you. I'm not saying it'll give you a job, but in your job, it'll really help you become more productive. So stuff like those, like learn Excel, learn some languages. Those are the things you can do beyond what you're studying also. So some examples. Another thing which I really want to point out is, like, again, which people keep saying, read books, right? I mean, read. It doesn't have to be books, newspaper. And this comes from the fact that, because now in future, it's all about not just writing exams, it's about interviews. And what I've noticed is, when I talk to someone, there's a lot of difference between someone who reads and who doesn't read. And the one who reads comes out as someone, I don't have to tell you, it's so obvious, right? So I think just read. It doesn't have to be novels and technical books. It can be anything. Read magazines, but read. You learn, you improve your language, you improve your knowledge, broad knowledge, and I think it shows in the person itself. So I think that's another example. And if you're not reading now, start reading now. Start from the most basic. You want to read a comic also, start reading, but without reading, I think it really helps, right? Which is why you see so many stories, right? Bill Gates, everyone talks about reading 5 books or 5 books in a week, 1 book in a day, all that part. So I think it's no coincidence that people who read are doing better in life. I think you keep reading. And lastly, I don't want to take much more time, but for me personally, and what I've seen with my friends also is, it's not technical, but your personal life is, I think, as important as anything else. Before you do anything, your life, your relationship with your parents, with your siblings, with your friends, boyfriend, girlfriend, ensure that you are at peace and in good relationship, because I think if that is settled, everything else comes into place. I strongly believe that, and it really helps. And do not get into a toxic relationship. Like if you are in a toxic relationship, you're young people, right? Make yourself strong and come out of it. Like if something is wrong at home, put your best effort to sort it out and make peace with it. Only then the things we're talking about, achieving life, skills, everything comes later, I feel. So I think for me personally, I think sort your personal space first really well, everything else will come in place, and I strongly believe that you may succeed. Some people succeed without having personal happiness. There are few, but rarely people succeed, without things being proper at home. There may be some people, one or two people who are doing really well without, but if you look at it, I'm sure they're not happy. I can guarantee they're not happy. And in the end, I think having said all this about job and putting yourself, in the end, what we want is, I think all of us want is happiness in life. And it's all that matters. So I think as critical as everything else is, just be ensure that do everything you can be to happy, and everything else will fall in place. Yeah, so I think I'll stop there. Sorry, I keep blabbering, and if someone doesn't stop me, I keep going on. It's been great to be here. A few things I want to keep talking about. Like I forgot to mention about like the job part. We're talking about job, but the thing about try not to be job seekers, try to be job creators. You've heard this, right? So you can keep that in mind. I mean, this whole one-day topic to be talking about, but the entrepreneurship thing we should keep talking about. It's a risky business. Not everyone can do it, but think from that line of view. We, as our situation in our society, we need to be job creators going ahead. So keep that in mind as well. I forgot that, so I'm just putting that across. So yeah, I'll stop here. I hope like one or two people at least learn something, and all the best in today and tomorrow. You have a lot of events. I saw the program. It's very exciting. When I was like in college fest, those were the best days in the college, not the classes, right? So I'm sure you're looking forward to it. I'm sure you're looking forward to me and in the speech as soon as possible. But yeah, thank you so much for having here. Thank you to the school, the organizing committee for inviting me. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here, and I hope to see all of you soon. Right, thank you so much.